afternoon. On behalf of the family, I would like to thank you all for being here today to honor Wendy. I'm Beth, Wendy's sister, and I would just like to take a moment to let you all know how much your prayers, love, and support have meant to Wendy and her family over the past couple of years, and really throughout Wendy's life. Wendy was able to fight a very difficult battle, and that would not have been possible without your support. It meant so much to her. I would like to thank you all for every time that you reached out with a call, text, card, message, or flower to let her know that you were thinking of her. Thank you for every meal that you made or gift card that you sent. These gestures of kindness made me think about a parable that Jesus told his followers. This parable describes acts of mercy we can all do every day. These acts do not depend on wealth or ability. They are simple acts, freely given and freely received. In Matthew 25, verses 35 through 40, Jesus said, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go and visit you?" And the king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers or sisters of mine, you did it for me." We don't always know when someone is walking through a difficult storm, but let me encourage you today that when you hear that small voice say, "Send that text, make that phone call, mail that card, be obedient," that gesture of kindness can make someone's day and give them the strength that they need to continue in their battle. One person that was faithful in reaching out to Wendy was Jeff's sister Jean. Wendy and Jean always had a close relationship, but when Jean found out about Wendy's diagnosis, she started what she called the Send Something Happy to Wendy with a note card project. You see, Jean and her family live in Norway, so she wasn't able to be here for Wendy physically, but she was there to cheer Wendy up and give her something to look forward to. Jean wrote something to honor Wendy, and I would like to share that with you on her behalf. It's titled, "In Loving Memory of Wendy." On one of my first days with Wendy, she was a walking and talking encyclopedia about South Carolina. I was very impressed. I think this was about the time Stephen had the topic at school, so she was really on top of things. I bought 2 books on South Carolina and read back home in Norway. I was all ready for my next visit. Any opportunity to say a fact about South Carolina, I said it. Facts about the palmetto trees, I know them. PB region or the Low Country, I can locate them on a map. Correctly identifying a Boykin Spaniel on a bike ride on Edisto Island was the highlight of my summer that year. Wendy loved the state of South Carolina, and I was happy to read up on it. There was no way I was going to read up on or understand college sports, and I cannot name one Pearl Jam song. Wendy was open about what she enjoyed and willingly to show off her state. Let me step back for that. Sorry, y'all. Wendy knew where the fun was, how to get the tickets, how to get there, and where to eat. If Wendy was going to be there, my kids, my husband, and I were going to have fun. I doubt we were the only people that felt that way around her. Jeff and Wendy, married in 2009, I will forever be thankful for the choices made in becoming a part of the Hofer family, adding Stephen and Ashley. My heart goes out to all the families and friends who feel the loss of Wendy's infectious laughter, warm hugs, and kind words that brighten many lives in countless ways. Rest in peace from the battle we fought, dear Wendy. Your light will forever shine, making every sandy beach I touch feel warm, greatly loved and deeply missed. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Trapp, I'm Wendy's brother, and I've been asked to read her obituary. But first, I'd like to take a minute to thank everyone who came. She loved friends and family so much. For you to take time to come here today to celebrate her life means a lot to me, so thank you. On June 28th, Wendy Marie Trapp Hofer lost her battle with cancer in 45 years. Were too few for someone who meant so much. A wife, mother, daughter, sister, and friend to so many, she touched lives in a positive way wherever she went. Her absence has left a permanent hole in the hearts of those who love her. Wendy was born October 18, 1977, in Columbia, South Carolina, the youngest daughter of Gregory Leo Trapp and the late Anne Companion Stewart. Wendy was never timid or run back down from a challenge. She always felt confident that she was the equal of her older brother and sister. She was strong, determined, everything she did. She added so much to a home full of laughs and love. She spent most of her childhood in West Columbia enjoying all the Midlands had to offer, from cheering on the Gamecocks to weekends at the lake. The area touched her in a way that made her feel at home. She moved to Anderson, South Carolina for a few years and graduated from McDuffie High School. After graduation, she decided to start her new life back where she started. In 1999, Wendy accepted a position with Blue Cross Blue Shield, a decision which led to a 24-year career. She moved to Lugoff and eventually started her family there. For her and her family, it was a perfect fit. Close enough to Columbia to enjoy the city, but far enough out to have some room. This is where she would raise her son Stephen for years as a single mother, before meeting her loving husband Jeff Hofer. Together with their daughter Ashley, they would make their own home full of laughter and love. Excuse me. Friendship was so important to Wendy. If you were lucky enough to call her a friend, know that to her you were more than an acquaintance. She loved you, whether it was a Pearl Jam concert, tailgating at Williams-Brice, beach trips, or maybe a friendly visit or phone conversation. She cherished the bond she felt with those she held close. She would light up when she spoke about the time she shared with each of you. They gave her so much comfort and strength. When she received her stage 4 cancer diagnosis, it was a blow to her and everyone who cared for her. It was part of her character to never give up. With all her strength, she gratefully welcomed the treatments and fought for every day it would give her. She never let the fight become her life, but instead used it to continue living the life she loved so much. Wendy took advantage of every opportunity to spend time with family, friends, and work right until the end. She wanted to share all that time with those she cared for. We grieve at our loss, but are thankful for the love and friendship we shared with Wendy during her life. She will always be remembered by her husband, Jeffrey Hofer, son Stephen Deans, daughter Ashley Hofer. They are loved and supported by her father Gregory, brother Benjamin, sister Elizabeth, their families and friends who Wendy loved so much. Thank you very much.
friendship with Wendy spans over 28 years, longer than I've been with my husband. Wendy gave me permission to speak today. What I took that to mean is that she asked me to speak today. And if you all knew Wendy like I did, that meant I better do what she asks, or she'll find a way to let me know she's disappointed even if she's not here physically. Wendy was a badass in every sense of the word. She was a fighter. She was defiant. She was savage. Oh yes, Wendy was fierce. From day one until the very end. I cannot imagine what Greg and Ann, God rest her soul, put up with raising Wendy. Ann had to read the strong little child hoping to gain some insight as to how in the world to raise that girl. One of my favorite stories of little Wendy was when she was about 5 years old. And she described being over at her grandma's beautiful house in Shandon, in the area of Columbia, playing in the foyer with her Lincoln logs, right? And she told me that her grandmother would fix lunch for all the grandkids, and make them come to the table to eat it. Wendy said her grandmother called her a couple of times to the table before she had to walk over to Wendy in the foyer. Her grandmother very sternly told her that she needed to come to the table to eat lunch. And little Wendy stood up and put her hand on her hip and said, maybe I will, and maybe I won't, but mostly I won't. Wendy felt the wrath of her grandmother that day, and rightfully so. As a matter of fact, out of 9 grandkids, Wendy was the only child to be ever spanked by grandma. But she wasn't afraid. No, Wendy was a badass. Oh yes, Wendy was fearless. I remember borrowing $3.25 from my mom so Wendy and I could ride down to the local Blockbuster to rent a movie. As we were walking in, the cashier gave us attitude about closing soon. Little did we know that attitude that she was giving us was an attempt to let us know that she was in the process of being robbed and the gunmen were still in the store. Wendy and I thought we would show her and take our sweet little time picking out the perfect movie until we saw a gun in our face and a masked man telling us to give him all of our money. And since looking down the barrel of a gun wasn't enough to convince us to give him what we had to ask him if he really wanted that $3.25 that was in our pockets. Now, a normal person would cut their loss to $3.25 and thank God that they made it out there alive. Not Wendy. Teenage Wendy hopped in my Ford Ranger and chased the armed perpetrators who fled on foot to make sure they got what they deserved. Lucky for them, they managed to flee, forcing Wendy to pull over and call 911 from a payphone. By the time the authorities got there and briefly mistook Wendy as a perpetrator, the real bad guys got away. Over the things Wendy and I did as youngins, we were horrified if Stephen or Ashley did anything remotely close to the shenanigans we got into. It's a fact. As time went on and lives changed, we drifted apart for a period of time, as relationships tend to do. Until we found each other again in a Blockbuster, no less, in West Columbia. I was pregnant with my daughter and she was in a new relationship and we reconnected as if time had not passed. Now I could go on and on with my Wendy stories, and I'm sure you all have your own Wendy stories. When Wendy gave me permission to speak today, I told her I'd be honored to share all the wonderful things about her. Wendy's response was, you ain't gotta lie. And as my husband's name Scott often said, you should always tell the truth, but you don't always need to be telling the truth. The truth was, Wendy was family. Yes, our Winnie, our Winky, our Windrew, our Jenna, our Switchblade sister. Wendy was family to us. That's how she made me feel every time I was around her. That's how she was with most people she met. You were either her family and a part of her tribe, or you weren't. And And we all know what that can look like if you weren't. It's a tough place to be. When you felt Wendy's love, you felt it all. Wendy was one of the best, truly. She had a kind heart, a tough spirit, and she was an amazing friend. She defined the word friend. Wendy was a help you bury the body, ask questions later kind of friend. A true ride or die. She was the kind of friend that would be there for you in any way that you need her to be. Wendy would cook for you, support you, love you, pray for you, care for you, listen to you, cry with you, laugh with you. She would help you paint your house or go to your kids' dance recitals and baseball games. She would be present with you. And that, I believe, was her greatest gift. That she knew how to love, and she knew how to be present. And it's thanks to Ann and Greg and Beth and Benji and all of you who showed her how to love. And we give thanks to God for giving Wendy that ability. Oh yes, Wendy knew God. Now we all know Wendy was no sitting in a pew every Sunday morning type of person. But there is no question that Wendy is reunited in heaven with her mom, her grandparents, Buster, and all of those who have gone before us. Because Wendy was real. She was authentic. There was no hiding or pretending with her. And to be authentic and to give love and to receive love is how we can know God and reflect God whether we come to the table or not. When Wendy, at 43 years old, told me of her stage 4 metastatic colon cancer diagnosis, I did not know that the doctor had already given her a timeline. As someone who is trained to help, to discern what the need is and remedy it, I felt so helpless knowing there was nothing I could do. And as Wendy and I discussed this information, plan of action, future treatments, logistics of how to handle care for her children, I became aware that this was beyond our control. And if you talk to either of our husbands, you'd find out that that was a big issue. But Wendy was a badass. Oh yes, Wendy was strong. So she would begin to fight the battle. And I decided that what I could do for Wendy is to just be present with her. Be there when she's ready. Be there when she needs me. Be there when she doesn't need me. Spend time with her. Cook for her. Support her. Love her. Pray for her. Care for her. Listen to her. Cry with her. Make her laugh. Make memories. And as I reflected on this resolution, I asked myself, why now? Why Wendy? Why in the face of death have I resolved to treat her this way? When really, isn't this how I should be treating everyone all along? As we gather here today to celebrate the life of our friend, our sister, our daughter, our cousin, our mother, our wife, Wendy, I challenge all of us to treat all of God's children in the way Wendy would. And we're reminded of this in Paul's letter to the Romans. In Romans chapter 12, verses 9 through 21. This is a common English Bible version. Paul says, love should be shown without pretending. Hate evil and hold on to what is good. Love each other like members of your family. Be the best at showing honor to each other. Don't hesitate to be enthusiastic. Be on fire in the Spirit as you serve the Lord. Be happy in your hope. Stand your ground when you're in trouble and devote yourselves to prayer. Contribute to the needs of God's people and welcome strangers into your home. Bless people who harass you. Bless and don't curse them. Be happy with those who are happy and cry with those who are crying. Consider everyone as equal and don't think that you're better than anyone else. Instead, associate with people who have no status. Don't think that you're so smart. Don't pay back anyone for their evil actions with evil actions, but show respect for what everyone else believes is good. If possible, to the best of your ability, live at peace with all people. Don't try to get revenge for yourselves, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. It is written, "Revenge belongs to me, I will pay it back," says the Lord. Instead, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him a drink. By doing this, you will pile burning coals of fire upon his head. Don't be defeated by evil, but defeat evil with good. Now again, I told Wendy I would not lie. Wendy was not the best at not cursing people who crossed her or that crossed others she loved. And she reveled in revenge from time to time, or at least celebrated when karma showed up for some people. And if you're a Clemson fan, or on the other side of the political spectrum of Wendy's, chances are you were fussed out for something you didn't even do. So true, right? Even Eddie Vedder, the lead singer of her beloved Pearl Jam, would get fussed at between songs as he shared his political views. And if I stood here today and listed everything that I do everything I do that fails to meet Paul's standards, we'd never go home. But that was the beauty of Wendy. She loved us despite our faults. She loved us for who we are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that is why I'm going to miss her so much, because there is no one else like her. Now, I don't know if you all knew this, but Wendy was a little bit of a Pearl Jam fan. And for those of you who don't know, Pearl Jam is a rock band that came out in the grunge era of the early 90s. So I would be remiss if I didn't include lyrics from a Pearl Jam song today. And even though it's not from her favorite Pearl Jam song, which is Nothing Man, by the way, it speaks Wendy to me. It's from a song called Guaranteed, written and performed by Eddie Vedder. Vedder writes, "Leave it to me as I find the way to be. Consider me a satellite forever orbiting. I knew all the rules, but the rules do not know me. Guaranteed." Wendy arranged a quick girls' trip to Pawleys Island back in September. Her cousins Frank and Heather were kind enough to provide a newly renovated house to stay. We were able to share so much laughter and just as many tears that weekend. We also learned how much the cancerous tumor had grown that was found on Wendy's ovary. As we were talking about heading home and what needed to be cleaned before we left, Wendy simply said, "Just leave it better than you found it." And I realized in that moment, that statement was much bigger than taking out the trash. That's how Wendy lived her life. Wendy made an impact on each of us here today, and we are much better because of it. That's how I want to live my life. That's how we should all live our lives. As Wendy's tribe, we will continue her legacy and her love by being kind, being present, being selfless, seeking justice and truth, and to always leave it better than you found it. And all God's children said, Amen.
Thank you so much for that, Orlinda. Wendy would have loved that. That was all true. I agree with that. But that concludes our service. We'd love for y'all to stay around and visit with us. Wendy's friends just were so sweet and prepared some refreshments in the back. So y'all please stay and visit with us a little bit. And y'all just continue to keep our family in your prayers, okay? Some of y'all may know, maybe some don't. Ben, Wendy, and I lost our mom just like 37 days before Wendy went to heaven. So we have two very big holes in our family coming into this next year. So just keep us in your prayers. So thank y'all so much.